Today, we're diving into a concept called the sovereign node. And it's one of those ideas that kind of makes you stop and ask a pretty big question about your life online, challenging the very idea of who owns what in the digital world.
No, really. Just think about that for a second. All your photos, your private messages, your entire online identity. Who's really in control? And that's exactly what we're digging into here.
We hear about it all the time, right? Privacy violations, data breaches, misinformation. But the material we're looking at today argues that all of those things, they're just symptoms. The real problem is something much, much deeper, baked into the very structure of our digital world.
And boom, here it is. This is the core argument. The fundamental failure isn't some bug in the code or a single bad company. It's that custody, the actual, literal control over our digital selves, has been quietly and systematically moved out of our hands.
Okay, so how on earth did this happen? How did we lose something so basic and, for the most part, not even really notice it was gone? Let's unpack how that control was shifted away from us.
And this part is absolutely key. You were never asked, hey, would you like to formally hand over ownership of your digital life? No way. It happened bit by bit. It was just easier this way. It was wrapped in the convenience of one-click signups, confusing default settings, and of course, the fact that you kind of had to be where all your friends and family already were.
So when we keep saying human custody, what are we actually talking about? Well, here it is. It's the power to both create and keep ultimate control over the basic building blocks of your online life. A good way to think about it is being the actual homeowner of your digital house, not just someone who's renting a room.
Whoa, okay. Now this really hits home, doesn't it? Just look at this breakdown. Your identity, your data, your communication, even your economic activity online. Who has custody? According to this analysis, it is overwhelmingly the platforms, not us. This visual just lays out the staggering scale of the transfer we've been talking about.
So what's the magic trick? What's the main tool used for this massive transfer of custody? Well, it's something you and I do dozens of times a day without even thinking about it. We log in. That simple, everyday act is identified as the primary mechanism of capture.
So let's just walk through how this capture process actually works. It all starts when your identity gets tied directly to the platform's system. From that moment on, everything you do, every click, every like, every message gets linked back to that identifier. And the final step in the transformation, you, the complex human being, you become a manageable, predictable data profile.
And this quote just captures that outcome perfectly. Your complexity, your nuances, everything that makes you you, it all gets flattened. In the eyes of the system, you're not really a person anymore. You are a collection of data points, a profile to be analyzed and sorted. All right, so what? What are the real-world consequences of all this? What happens when our entire digital society is built on this foundation of us not having custody? Because that profile they've built of you, it's not just sitting in a digital filing cabinet. Oh no, it is being put to work. It's feeding these incredibly powerful algorithms that are designed to predict your behavior and, more importantly, to influence and shape what you do next. And that creates a massive, massive imbalance of power. The source material really breaks down the fallout into 4 huge consequences. First, there's this asymmetry of power. They know so much more about us than we could ever know about them. Then there's a loss of agency, where it becomes incredibly difficult to control your digital footprint or just leave. After that comes opacity, meaning we have basically zero idea how these black box algorithms are making decisions about us. And finally, you get this powerful lock-in, which makes it socially or economically painful to ever leave the system.
Now, this is a really critical point to understand. The argument here isn't that these systems are run by a bunch of evil villains. It's that the system's design itself, driven by financial incentives and the sheer need to operate at a global scale, naturally leads to these outcomes. The problem is structural. It's in the architecture. Okay, so that was a lot. And it paints a pretty bleak picture. After laying all that out, is there a way out of this? Well, the final part of this analysis points towards a solution, a potential path back to what you might call digital sovereignty. And the solution has to be just as fundamental as the problem itself. Just slapping on a few new regulations or adding another privacy toggle isn't going to cut it. The source argues that to truly fix this, we have to go all the way back to the beginning and solve for that core issue, the absence of human-held custody right at the foundational layer.
So we'll end with this question, one that flips the whole script. If you held the keys to your digital self, not a platform, what would you do? If you had the ultimate control over your identity, your data, your online existence, what would you build? What would you change? What does a digital world built on sovereignty, not surveillance, even look like? It's a powerful thought to leave you with.